For many of us, recycling requires little more than remembering when to bring the bin to the curb for pickoff. But our out-of-sight, out-of-mind relationship with old newspapers and pieces of packaging could soon change. As Stephanie Leydon reports, the cost of recycling is going way up.
Inside the E.L. Harvey & Sons recycling plant in Hopkinton, it's business as usual. On this line, workers sort through paper products. Everything from old newspapers to empty boxes come in at a rate of about 200 tons a day. But lately, most of it never makes it beyond the back lot.
We started stockpiling material out here in the first beginning of January, so this has all been kind of accumulating over the period of the last 4 to 5 months.
5,000 tons, piled 12 feet high. The Great Wall of Hopkinton is rising amid a policy change in China. Long a dominant importer of used paper products, China has banned recyclables that contain more than a trace of trash.
It's hard when you get little pieces like that in our system to be able to get that material out.
Harvey says his processed paper meets industry but not the new Chinese standards. Before January, when the new restrictions went into effect, 70% of the paper here went to Chinese mills. Now he's competing with processors around the world to get his paper into mills in places like Turkey and India. The result, a material that once had value is now a liability.
This bale here is about a ton, that's correct.
And a year ago it was worth what?
About $70 to $80.
And what's it worth today?
This is costing us today to send this into the marketplace anywhere from $30 to $50 a ton.
A cost that's being passed on to local communities. In just 1 year, the price to get rid of a ton of recycling in the town of Rockland has jumped from about $3 to nearly $70.
It's costing us more to recycle than it is to get rid of the trash. This is affecting all communities right now. It really is. And it's hard. I don't blame people for getting angry. Why are we doing this if it's costing us that money? Because we have no choice.
Under state law, communities can't get rid of recyclables as trash, although state regulators have issued a handful of waivers. No question, the Chinese restrictions have disrupted the system. But the state's recycling chief believes the market for paper will come back.
We've always seen the markets come back for these materials because inherently they have a value as a commodity. If the Chinese market does not want to take the materials, new markets are certainly going to be opening up.
But will that happen before Ben Harvey runs out of room?
You can see from our piles, we don't have a whole lot of time that we can hold out waiting for this to change, waiting for another country to build mills or more investment in mills in our own country.
Stephanie Leydon joins me now. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Jim.
That's quite a visual.
Isn't it something to see?
Is it possible what you call the Great Wall of Recycling could end up in an incinerator? Is that possible?
Ben Harvey says no, that he's made a commitment to recycle that material and that he will, but there is a possibility, he doesn't want this to happen, but that he may have to stop taking more recycled material.
So I saw paper everywhere. I did not see plastic. Was I missing something, or is there...
China does recycle plastic, but it's the more difficult type to break down, sort of like the containers that might go in your microwave. There is actually a robust domestic market for plastics. So regionally,
why is there?
They're actually easier and cheaper to break down than paper,
really?
Which I found counterintuitive.
Me too.
But there are plastic recycling plants in the United States, not paper mills, though.
Do people like this guy and others like him who are in quite a conundrum here, do they hope or believe that China may end up changing the policy back at some point?
Possible. And that adds to the uncertainty, right? So you want to open a paper recycling mill now because it's a good time, but do you want to make the investment? Do you want to put in the time? If there's a chance that China is going to reopen its markets, which are huge. And there is thinking that perhaps China is doing this in part because it wants to build its own recycling infrastructure. So it's just a time of uncertainty.
The cost differentials are huge.
Yeah,
it's stunning to me.
Well, we'll see what happens, whether or not the market corrects and how long it takes.
Stephanie, great to see you. Good report as always.